Hello guys, welcome to the Hard Carry. I'm your host Adam Fitch. As always with this series, I'm going to break down what's happened in the world of esports business in the past week and explain why things matter. I'm anticipating a shorter episode this week. Well, typically they're probably about 15 minutes long in terms of episodes, but yeah, it's just with coronavirus and obviously the pandemic going on at the moment. Things are being halted, and of course, plenty of things are happening as a result of coronavirus, and mostly negative things in terms of events being cancelled and such. But it also just means that people are holding off on making announcements, so not too much is going on. I mean, Reciprocity, Team Reciprocity, North American organisation. So I covered a couple of weeks ago that they were gonna go through with a reverse takeover and end up on the Toronto Stock Exchange, right? A quick thing here, as I don't have all the facts in front of me right now, but Chad Larson, the CEO, put out a video the other day explaining that they're having to scale back entirely. I've heard that they're filing for bankruptcy. I don't know if that's been made public yet or not, but that's what I heard before the announcement was made. I didn't think it would happen as soon as it did from when I heard it. But yeah, there's a lot of changes going on in tier 2, tier 3 organisations as such. Those who are not quite at the top and haven't got the significant like capital injection that many organisations have at this point. It's a difficult one. I just want to stress at the beginning of the episode, I really hope everyone is taking this seriously. So, I had to go to a corner shop yesterday. I've been living this kind of quarantine lifestyle for the most part. Anyway, I keep to myself, stay in and work. But I had to go to a corner shop yesterday to get a couple bits and bobs. As Mother's Day coming up, so I had to get a card and such. And I had to walk past the pub, and I walked past the pub, right, and there's like 30 people in there, and it's ridiculous, and people could have it now, and it just won't surface later. So I'm just saying all that basically just to say I hope you're keeping yourself safe, keeping inside, playing plenty of games. If you live with family, then you're all looking after each other and spending some proper time together. I think there's some real value in being positive and having strong relationships at this point in time. Obviously, it's hard if you live by yourself like I do, for example, but the internet exists, so there's no real excuses, video chats, FaceTimes, just messages. I just hope everyone's pivoting to working from home and is doing okay, because it's obviously, it's affecting esports, but it's affecting basically every industry and affecting every one of us, So, yeah, I'm just a lot of well wishes from me coming to everyone who watches and listens, because it is a tough time, obviously. We don't know how long it's going to last for, and that's actually probably one of the worst parts in a sense, like not having an end date on what's going on. It just kind of feels a bit like impending doom. You're just kind of waiting for more shit to go wrong. But if we all stay in and do what's being advised, then we can get ahead of it and get back to business. And just hopefully not too many companies are being affected. Though I know there's more news to come publicly at some point. Stuff that I can't really break at the moment. I'm not comfortable doing so. And also I could potentially fuck up things for other people, other companies and such. So I'm not trying to do that. But yeah, of course, with like LEC and LCS going online, and Overwatch League was going to play online, but then there's been some changes there. I think something to do with like the amount of people in one establishment in LA. Just a lot of shit going on in esports. In traditional sports, it's completely halted, but we can play online, so that's why you're seeing many traditional sports now moving over, which is obviously a main talking point. What I want to get into quite quickly is the fact that motorsport seems to be doing it better than, say, basketball and football and such at the moment. So we've got NASCAR, we've got Formula One, and we've got Supercars, which I believe is an Australian series, all now have announced intentions to launch, if not already launched, like a virtual esports series for both their professional drivers in like the real life scene as such, like actual motorsports, not the virtual simulated aspect of it, as well as people from the esports side of stuff as well. So it's kind of, they're doing a good job in blending personalities and drivers from both traditional sports, as we call it, motorsports, and esports, So, yeah, NASCAR is launching the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. They've always got the longest names ever, which is a bit annoying because you're never going to remember it all. But obviously they've got like the eNASCAR initiative, which is sponsored by Coca-Cola. So that's already going on. They already know what's going on there. But yeah, so using iRacing, that's going to have a healthy boost in player base, I assume. just with everyone locked in. Though obviously sim racing's got a larger barrier to entry than say playing on a console or something, because typically you need the full setup if you're really trying to simulate racing out in the real world. I'm trying not call esports real, because it's a real thing, but obviously it's simulated and it's virtual. So Formula 1 is launching the Formula 1 Virtual Grand Prix Series again. They'll be competing on Formula 1 2019, and which I think is by Codemasters. I could be wrong on that, but so F1 drivers and influencers and esports personalities and such will compete in that. Starts Sunday 22nd of March, so the day after this is being recorded and updated. Uploaded, sorry. It's been a mad one, but we keep it going. It's always one take here. And then supercars, I'm not a motorsport buff myself, but pretty sure it's not as big as NASCAR and Formula 1 in terms of name and stature and viewership, but that's also going to be launching the Supercar E-Series. Whether I like the name or not is regardless on that, but that's also going to be using iRacing, which they used in, I believe Supercars also done some esports stuff, so that's cool. It's actually going to be broadcast on Fox Sports and an Australian sports streaming service called Kayo. And it'll also be across Superstar's website, social media channels, and Twitch. So they're actually doing quite a good job there in terms of pushing shit out. So motorsports is at the moment the best section of traditional sports, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's hard to categorize it in that way, but motorsports is doing a good job in coming over and capitalizing on the dead space that's going on right now, when the opportunity that esports and gaming brings is incredible, especially in a time like this. We're finding people who probably laughed at esports for a long time and now seeing the value in the industry and the activity and what it can bring. Obviously, we've seen football clubs on Football Manager and FIFA and such, and as basketball teams that are working with Twitch and on the NBA 2K and such. We're seeing it being adopted, and what I could see happening is they just completely, some companies and some organisations and establishments, once things are back to normal, or whatever the new normal will be, they'll probably just scrap shit straight away and just move on. But if they see a lot of value in this and there's a lot of uptake, and that doesn't drop off too much once things are back to normal, it could be a good thing, and could see more eyeballs on esports than ever, which I think is likely after this. I think ESL are on about how they're breaking records and such with the Pro League, even though that's online. I'm always a bit dubious about when they announce breaking records, because they use some weird metrics a lot of the times, and that's not just ESL, it's companies in general, though it is ESL that tends to big itself up the most in that sense, and it's definitely not the only company that's breaking its own records, especially in today's kind of environment and climate. It's a weird one. So motorsport, if you're into motorsports, keep an eye out. There's plenty of options for you, and there's probably a couple more to come. I can't say I'm active in the scene at all. I can't say I've ever watched a race, actually. So it's hard to know exactly how more can come in and make some noise during this down period. But yeah, that's something to look at. As I say, it's going to be a shorter episode. I've only got one more thing I want to talk about, really. So I imagine it's probably go to about 10 minutes or something. I apologise, but if there's nothing to really talk on and go into depth about, I'm not just going to build up the numbers just for the sake of it, I'd rather keep it short and sweet and concise, and you get what's happened, So TV2 Norway has acquired the Norwegian media rights to both the ESL Pro Tour and Blast Premier. Now, we don't know the lengths of such deals. I think the Blast Premier one might be just a one-year one, but it's never explicitly told. For the most part, they just say multi-year or just leave it. So, TV2 Norway, the latest to get involved in the CSGO media rights war almost, We don't know about bidding process and such, or whether ESL and Blast are just going to the networks and the channels they want to be on and doing it that way. There's actually a lot of pre-existing partnerships when it comes to these things at the moment. So, it's not too surprising if you were to look into it, but I covered the CSGO media rights, kind of the current state of affairs there in the last episode, I believe. And it's more oncoming. I think ESL Pro Tour is a good way of those creating the value for media rights to be bought, having at least 20 tournaments, I think it is, in one annual circuit. So guaranteed action basically every other weekend or something, it adds up quickly. Especially with the Pro League, which is an ongoing thing as well. There's a lot of value there. We don't know the financial terms of these things, which really does my head in. It'd be nice to know. But everyone's very tight-lipped. I can't say I'm connected enough in a sense to get like sensitive details such as those. I know people who could perhaps, but I don't want to kind of fuck anything up because if one's getting paid a lot more than the other, then the beef could start there. As such, all like renegotiations, whatever you want to call it, and yeah, just deals could fall through or collapse or whatever because numbers are out there and they're not accurate across the board. But nonetheless, it's just cool to see CSGO pushing forward with this. We've seen Overwatch League obviously getting on ESPN and such, but has not been a big push like this. ESL Pro League now probably got 8 or 9 media partners, if you want to call them that, people who have acquired the rights regionally. And I like the way they're doing it. A lot of the comments from the representatives of the companies who are acquiring these rights are kind of saying, we're already big in sports. We want to make the push into esports too, and that's the right attitude, and well, at least the right thing to say. And my only question is, are people who are into esports really watching TV at all? If not just like Netflix and going on YouTube and Amazon Prime and Hulu and all of those that are coming out, But still, are they actually watching traditional TV, or are they looking at streaming sites and platforms? It's hard to know. But if these things are renewed in a year's time or 3, 4, 5 years time, depending on the length of the deal, then you can say, okay, it's either fruitful or it's promising. So that's something interesting to look at and just keeping an eye on. I'll be covering it all at Esports Insider because I think it's important and no one's really talking about it. So I want at least to create that conversation myself where I can because that's where a big amount of money can come from. A large amount of money, a huge sum, could come from media rights in the future if TV is indeed a good destination for esports. So yeah, I'm gonna cut it short there. Keep an eye on that. I'd say keep it, your favourite sport will probably transition to esports soon if it hasn't already. Again, please just stay safe and don't be selfish and go out and just act like nothing's happening right now and then end up giving it to a family member. And you know what I mean? Like, even if you're not worried about being affected by coronavirus and being ill and such, like there are healthy people who are younger than me. I'm 25. There are people younger than me. I think there was a 21-year-old football coach who was perfectly healthy in terms of like breathing and such, like nothing that would interfere with or like be amplified by the coronavirus, who passed. Like, it's mad. So don't be ignorant enough to think you're invincible or that it's just like a real common cold that will just disappear straight away. Keep yourself safe, keep your family and friends safe, and play plenty of games. Enjoy yourself while you can. Hopefully no one's been affected in terms of losing jobs and such. I really hope that's not the case, though. I know it's likely and there's more to come in, especially in esports, but outside of it too. Soon, it's a really tough time. And yeah, just stay safe. I'll catch you next week, and yeah, enjoy yourself as much as you can while being homebound. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.